Hi, friends, and good morning here from the Temple of Silence in Finland. This is our 34th Dissipation of Glamour webinar, looking at the idea of glamour as covering the whole range of possibilities, illusion and Maya as well. Of course, sometimes the word illusion is used that way and covers the whole range of these three, each one of them focused in the difficulties of the functioning of a particular vehicle, whether the etheric, the emotional, or the mental. I just wanted to back up just a little bit. We've been looking at here the various stages of the technique, certain scientific lines or modes of work. And, we reviewed this, but just to name what these are and then proceed. These stages are leaving off are continuing where the formulas lead off. So we have the evocation of the state of tension, the first, the achieving of a state of fusion with the soul or with the angel. And, we will know whether we have achieved that by the feeling sense of things. And by that I don't necessarily mean only the astral body, it's a more subtle sense. The holding of the mind steady in the light. And then we continued last time with a definite and sustained effort to sense the presence throughout the universe in all forms and in all presentations of truth. That's a very subtle thing, and we begin to enter the world of being when we do that, and we got as far as ascertaining the purpose. So we'll have our little alignment, and when we continue, we'll go on to number 6, and it's followed by actually quite a few steps, each one of which should be given some meditative attention were it possible for us to do that. So here we go, and let's all gather together on the imaginatively, at least on the plane of higher mind, and we, just to name those who have come thus far. I can't do it until, once I start, it's hard to point out who is there additionally, but welcoming to Alex and Annette and Antoinette, Carl, Catherine, Deborah, Diane, Eha, Frederick. It says GP, and forgive me this morning. It slipped my mind who GP is, but okay, welcome GP. John, Yoke, Karen, Lori, Lynn, Margot, Mariut, Martha, Myrna, Olivia, Rebecca, Risto, Tuija, and Vera. And as you know, it is Olivia, Tuija, and I that are kind of trying to take this glamour work into the future, along with the other work of the Ask series of programs, which really are an approach to the science of invocation and evocation. And thank you, Brett, for being here on the technical side of things. Sometimes with these early morning programs, it's kind of good for Australia and New Zealand, and possibly doable in some parts of Europe, but in the United States, it gets, especially on the East Coast and the central part, it gets a bit like the wee hours of the morning. So anyway, we are all here realizing that the personality is simply an extension of what we are. And that behind this personality, we exist as a truer being, a more comprehensive being. In fact, we are the soul, considering that soul as a projection of the monad, which we still more essentially are. And we are gathering together here to do some work in helping to clear the atmosphere of thought, of desire, and of action in which humanity perpetually operates. And there's very much error within this field. Many misleading forces to which the human being can become subject, and we hope to eliminate those over time. We and all people working on glamour, and the time when with massed intent, those capable within humanity will stand against these distortions, these misinterpretations, these errant impulses, if you will, when speaking of Maya. And so we are gathered to do a piece of work, step by step, little by little, with as much persistence as we can and as much growing understanding as we can manage. And together we form one instrument. We shall use the triple searchlight, and we shall continue our work on that problem of mistaken identity, which results in egotism, not seeing the whole picture, not understanding the implications of one's acts, and it's a fundamental distortion. Perhaps the distortion most related to the great heresy of separateness, which DK says is the one great heresy. So, affirming our soul relationship with each other, we sound the Om and then go a little bit into our studies about the cultivation of the intuition through the utilization of the cultivated intuition in the technique of the presence. Okay, so we have begun to read the steps involved in this technique of the presence, and now with number 34, we go on to point number 6. Having done all of this preparation and somewhat ascertained within the light of the presence as a vital existence, having ascertained somewhat the purpose, and remember that's not fully possible until one is at least a Chohan, and even then some of those very high members of the hierarchy know only the first syllable of Sanat Kumara's name, and in the name, of course, is hidden the purpose. So then some active form of service begins after this preparation has been managed, and then the meditator carries some world problem. If he's working individually, it will be one of his choice. If he's working with the group, it will be what the group has chosen. He then carries some world problem, some design, which his mind has evolved. It might just match up with an archetype, or his heart desired for the helping of humanity, into what is esoterically called the triple light of the intuition. Now, let's see how DK regards the intuition as triple. This light is formed by the blending of the light of the personal self, focused in the mind, because it is the mind, after all, which has to receive the impression and help to formulate it and apply it. The light of the soul, focused in the angel of the presence, which in my view is as much of the solar angel as is invested in and supports the being of the egoic lotus, and the universal light which the presence admits. So basically, we're dealing here with the concrete mind, the son of mind, soul, and we're dealing with the monad itself. Now, the word universal is a problematic word because it doesn't necessarily mean the vast and entire universe, about which yet we know very little, even with the revelations of astronomy. We don't have all the astronomical revelations yet by any means, and we certainly don't have the subjectivity which has supported and brought to birth this great universe. But somehow the monad, through its pure being, the heart of the monad, you might say, the essence of the monad, that which sustains will, wisdom, and activity, is connected with this universal being, and finally is this universal being. So for the moment, when we look at the word universal, we can consider a kind of light which illuminates the planetary logoi, and which is the light of the solar logos himself in his own local universe. So the triple light of the intuition combines all these three. This, when done with facility, through concentration and long practice, well, no easy solutions are promised for us, but we do see that to become accomplished in the use of the intuition and its application through the soul and through the mind, what we normally consider to be the mind, we will have to really work at it, and it might become our, specialty within the occult field. Let's just say that no one can do everything that DK has proposed as doable. He's always advised people, well, choose one of the lines which I have suggested and work forward along that line. And don't scatter your attention over every possible thing, because then we will not go into sufficient depth to really accomplish anything. So this will, when we are able to subject some problem, some idea we have for helping humanity to the triple light of the intuition, it will be this triple light. And the results will be, according to DK, there will suddenly dawn upon the disciples' waiting mind, which still remains the agent of perception, and by this we mean the concrete mind, the answer to his problem, the clue to what is needed to bring relief to humanity, the information desired which, when applied, will unlock some door in the realm of science, psychology, or religion. See, always for us, there is a missing piece, Let's just say that pieces are still missing usually. And the intuition provides the next missing piece, perhaps the piece which constellates the entire problem we've been working upon. So this door, when opened, will bring relief or release to many. Now that is our objective, isn't it? We are ostensibly servers of humanity and naturally then of the planet. We are then members in some degree of the new group of world servers. And so, okay, this is what we want to do, to contact the higher worlds where the knowledge and understanding reside, and to bring this to the people who are still suffering in various types of problems with which humanity is still beset. As before, I have told you, the intuition, this is so important, okay, so let's really bring this in. As before, I've told you, the intuition is never concerned with individual problems or inquiries, as so many self-centered aspirants think. Well, that kind of puts us in our place, doesn't it? You know, we say, well, let me consult my intuition. I have a problem. Let me consult my intuition. It's not about our own personal problems. Those we must solve and will solve in the light of the soul and from our own experience, but not the real intuition. That's not what evokes the real intuition. This intuition is purely impersonal and only applicable to humanity in a synthetic sense. So the intuition is about solving problems, let's say, problems, PRBS. Oh, heavens. Let me put that in. PRBS. And I hope that stays with me. Okay, PRB will be probable. Okay, problems larger than the individual problems. Okay, so they can be, it applies to the group. The intuition applies to the group and ultimately to the very large picture. Perhaps our nation, humanity as a whole, a planetary solution along some line. So we have to think big when we're thinking about the intuition. And, if we are in the center of our own stage and we are taking up all that space within our field of consciousness with our tiny personality as if it were some large thing, then the intuition will not be accessible to us. We have to have a group consciousness of the soul and increasingly the impersonal planetary consciousness. So anyway, first we have the answer to this problem. It says, well, suddenly, that sounds very Uranian, doesn't it? Because Uranus is the planet of sudden revelation, we might say. The answer to the problem will appear. And the next thing, the next result that will happen after concentration and long practice is the intruding agent of light, as the old commentary calls these adventuring intuitive. From the astrological point of view, sounds very Sagittarian, doesn't it? And Sagittarius is, we know, one of the intuitive signs. So we are intruding into something here, but we're being welcomed because we're prepared. The intruding agent of light is recognized as one to whom can be entrusted some revelation, some new impartation of truth. Well, nothing's new, but, new to the knowledge of humanity of the period, some significant expansion from a seed of truth, an implication, already given to the race. He sees a vision, hears a voice, registers a message, or, highest form of all, he becomes a channel of power and light to the world, a conscious embodiment of divinity or custodian of a divine principle. Well, these are the higher initiates, and we know that the Christ is becoming an embodiment of a ray of love, love especially. So he is, interestingly, in terms of the way of higher evolution, the Christ at this time is on the ray path, and his work will be as a ray of love, although later something higher, of course, will take its place, and the star Sirius, we are told, will be the place to which he finally repairs after other work. So these forms constitute true revelation imparted or embodied. We either sort of stay who we are and receive it, or we actually become the very thing as an embodiment which has been imparted. We become the impartation. They are still rare, but will increasingly be developed in humanity. So, in other words, let's just say, how can we summarize all this? We can say that revelation comes through impartation, and some higher ones embody the impartation. So there is, in a way, eventually no difference between them and what is imparted, and they lose their fascination with their own personal identity and become something much larger. I mean, have you ever thought of it, when the Christ or the Buddha says, "I am the light of the world," what level of identification does that represent? They've gone out far beyond the personal self into something that is really substantial and all pervading, and they say, yes, that's what they are. And there may be other great pervading factors as well. I am the love of the world. I am the will of the world. Different high initiates will be able to identify in that way. So here we've had what we've gone over here in point, let's see, what point is it? Is it number 6? Yeah. Through the triple light of the intuition, through concentration and long practice, 2 different results are produced. The answer comes, and a greater revelation comes. He is accepted as an intruding agent of light. Now, all of us, when we go beyond, look, when we use the Antakarana, we have the setup to become the intruding agent of light. The projection which we send forth as an invocation intrudes upon the higher worlds. Well, what does the higher world do? It helps us complete the bridge by building the bridge from the other side, so to speak, and from these very high locations within our own energy system comes the answer. The monad somehow answers through its own instruments and meets our own projection. And then there is this great revelation where the two meet together. But we have to be very earnest and very persistent and very well practiced to access this higher revelation, which will help us solve the problems which we are attempting to solve on behalf of humanity. Okay, then comes the next few stages. The next few stages are called in preparation for the revelation. What are they called? And, maybe he'll tell us something about this. Excuse me. Otherwise, we could just guess. The relinquishing of the higher way. Well, he who stands within the light and he who faces towards the light and stands within its radiance is blinded to the issues of the world of men. He passes on the lighted way towards the great center of absorption. Well, some just do that, and they just go ahead, and when they shoulder that staff, as in the rules of the road, there's no crook on the staff. They can't hold anybody. They just go forward. But in the case of those who are practicing this technique of the presence, they relinquish temporarily those higher possibilities. The higher way really is the way of higher evolution. And at this present time, while it used to begin at the 5th degree, it begins at the 6th degree, at Shohanship. The return to the angel, or the refocusing in the soul, when we're ever dealing with the causal body, the angel of the presence is always a powerful factor and active in helping to reveal to us the higher aspects of our nature. Now, maybe he'll elaborate upon these. I'm not sure. I haven't read ahead, really. A pause or interlude for constructive thinking under the influence of the angel. Well, what we basically have here is monad, soul, and personality, because this constructive thinking is done with the mind held steady in the light, and it is still the concrete mind that we are using, though it is an illumined concrete mind. The turning of the mind, point D, to the formulation of those forms of thought which must embody the revelation, because I suppose we would be guided by the feeling or the sense of what the revelation really is. It's always present, but a certain type of it or a certain quantity, I don't find the right words, will be impelling us towards some form of service, and we have to formulate the thought which will help us apply the service, and then again what is called a pause, which is called the pause preceding presentation. And we might look at that as a focusing of our energies so that which we have worked out in the mind, subject to the sense of the revelation, will have the adequate power to make an impact. So we'll see whether he actually deals with these 5 points, or whether our brief summary will put us on the right track. Now, if you've worked in the arcane school and in the Weavers in the Light where the Antikarana is studied and so forth, you'll recognize these various stages. And it is a preparation to release into the world that which is needed in an understandable and practical manner, that which is needed after we experience the revelation which shows us that which is needed. See, sometimes if you just come forward with the kind of language of the revelation, as maybe some of the mystics have done, it may meet with incomprehension or misunderstanding. So you have to formulate in such a way that the world, or whoever you're trying to help, really does get it. So maybe we'll come back to these, but it is basically a 5-step process. We don't wander on, but we stay here in the sphere of service instead of treading the higher way. We focus, and of course, the interesting thing here is if there still is an angel, the 4th initiation has not been taken. So what we're talking about here all takes place beneath the 4th initiation. The return to the angel, the refocusing in the light of the soul and in its love and will. Then we start to think in the light of the angel. Then we formulate practical thoughts which must embody the revelation. And, the abstract mind can also be used in this, not only the concrete mind. And then we gather our forces for presentation. Okay, so I hope that is relatively clear. And basically, what I'm advising is, as we go through this wonderful little book, section by section, although not necessarily in order, make notes of what you might want to say about any particular thing that is read. And then when we have our time for question and answers and making statements, you will have that down. So you kind of like, you take notes as you go in order to remind yourself of what it is you might want to say when we reach our question and answer section. Okay, next comes point number 8. Then comes the presentation. We have formulated wisely. We have the power. We have the clarity. The Antikarana has been useful to us. We've used the light of the soul to augment our service. Now what happens? The presentation of the revelation or the imparted truth and its precipitation into the world of illusion comes next. Okay. So the whole thing is the world of illusion. From one perspective, the whole universe is illusion. At least that's the ancient way that the Upanishads tend to look at this. The only thing that's not illusion is not the universe, but there are grades of illusion, and like I say, any departure from absolute infinitude is an illusion, and any motion that can be made towards manifestation is always a limitation. It can never be an augmentation because absolute infinitude contains all possibilities, and that's the nature of absolute being. So in a way, any motion whatsoever is an illusion. But that gets so philosophical as to be just about, useless when it comes to dealing with, what we have to do here in these 3 lower worlds. So anyway, the presentation of the revelation or the imparted truth and its precipitation into the world of illusion comes next. And there we will want to, know something about the technique of white magic, because that's all about recreating the lower worlds according to what is sensed in the higher worlds and the proper techniques for doing so, which Master DK will more fully reveal to us when he externalizes, but he's given us enough of a hint now with white magic to study it carefully academically, so we'll be ready for his impartation, and things will work much more expeditiously if we do that academic work. Okay, in that world of illusion, it undergoes the fiery ordeal. This is interesting, wherein some of the fire within that which is revealed wings its way back to the source from whence it came. Some of it serves to destroy the revealer, and some to burn those who recognize the revelation. Isn't that interesting? So a kind of a triple fiery ordeal is undergone when the revelation is presented to the world. And I guess maybe some of us have experienced a little bit of this. I don't think the fullness of it we've experienced. But in that world of illusion, the revelation, it undergoes the fiery ordeal, wherein some of the fire within that which is revealed wings its way back to the source from whence it came. Some of it serves to destroy the revealer, and you might wonder, completely, or to destroy aspects of the revealer which are not suitable for the revelation. So what aspects of the revealer are destroyed? And some to burn those who recognize the revelation. It all sounds like, a good example of the burning ground. So this is a phase of Agni Yoga. Agni is fire, we know. The great Raja Lord of fire. This is a phase of Agni Yoga which, as you can see, is only for those who can penetrate beyond the angel into the place where fire dwelleth. Now that is monadic, triadal monadic. The triadal and let's see, triadal and monadic world, and where God, the presence. Note, if we are the presence, we are God. Now, this is something considered a great heresy. Who is God? what is God? Well, there's so many gods, and they basically are combinations of beings in ever greater wholes until the one great being is reached, and we are that too. So a phase of Agni Yoga we're dealing with here. If we learn how to penetrate beyond the angel, and we can use the angel of the presence, or it uses us to help us penetrate beyond itself, then we go to the place where fire dwelleth. Well, we're always dealing with fire, but we're dealing here with electric fire, the highest of the fires. And I think I should put that down. This means electric fire. And pardon me here while I expand our abbreviations, which seems to be a necessary thing. Electric fire. And solar fire, fire by friction. We're familiar with the three. So by this is meant electric fire, and where God the presence functions as a consuming fire and waits for the hour of total revelation. Well, you have to be very patient when it comes to these very limited forms through which we and all kingdoms are working. And what is consumed? Our God is a consuming fire, we're told. The fire of love, a consuming fire. So all dross is burnt, and anything which prevents the full revelation of divinity is removed eventually through fire. So all of this is when we're treading the path of occultism, spiritual occultism, which can reach into the higher fires, we are treading the path of fire. And some of you do know the mantra of fire, and you use it now and then, right? I seek the way I yearn to know, and so forth. Let the fire rage, the flames devour, let all the dross be burnt, and let me enter through that gate into the higher worlds and tread the way of fire. So revelation is gradual. It's about as much as we can take at any one time, and the great revealers who stand behind the lesser forms have to be very patient. You know, the touch of Shambhala is very quick and absolutely co-measured, and otherwise the form is destroyed. So there's an exquisite kind of accuracy in how Shambhala touches the lesser worlds. It's all measured out very accurately so that revelation is bestowed, empowerment occurs, but destruction of the form does not occur unless, of course, the form is not aligned with the archetype and waits for the hour of total revelation. Okay, this is a symbolic rendering of a great truth. In the case of the individual initiate, the third initiation, the transfiguration, marks the consummation of the process. Well, of the process in which there is not total destruction. Only glory then is seen. And you know that is the supernal light. The supernal light, and lost am I in light supernal. It's a Capricorn revelation. Yet on that light I turn my back. So the glorification occurs of every third degree initiate, even though under Venus and under the sun, in their esoteric aspects, that glory will have to be relinquished with a descent into the lower worlds, where it is covered up by all the conditions which exist there. Only glory then is seen, only the voice of the presence is heard, maybe for the first time really consciously, and union with the past, the present, and the future is reached. And what does that suggest to us? This is quite a paragraph. The eternal now. And if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to ETN. This is the eternal now. And that is something that we all strive to understand. And I dare say that when the revelation of intuition dawns upon us, the understanding of the eternal now will occur much more directly and assimilatively, if there's such a word, than with the concrete mind. So this is a magnificent paragraph here, and it's all about the fiery ordeal of the applied intuition and the meeting of the higher fire, consuming all the dross so that one day the hour of total revelation may come. Now, we can't be too ambitious. It's tempting to be ambitious, but sometimes ambition, which is still somehow focused in the individual mechanism, outruns the power of that mechanism to receive. And so, we get the old saying that fools rush in where angels fear to tread. You have to co-measure your steps forward so we don't overstep our boundaries and leave ourselves open to destruction of the vehicle and have to rebuild that for a number of lives until we again reach the point where we can say no to the temptation of individual ambition. Then comes something interesting. Number 9, the succumbing of the revelation to the prevailing illusion. I think I told you, Master Moria was speaking about which fate is more painful, the fate of those who reveal the truth and are subjected to the stake, the burning of the stake, or those who reveal the truth and have to watch its descent, its fragmentation, its distortion as it descends, and its misapplication as it descends into the 3 lower worlds. And there's nothing they can do about it. They've revealed the truth the best they can, but illusion takes over and does quite a number on the purity of the revelation. So the succumbing of the revelation to the prevailing illusion, its descent into the world of glamour, and its subsequent disappearance as a revelation, and its emergence as a doctrine. Well, we see so many people in various religious and political, even economic fields, various fields, where a quite wonderful idea on its own level has become some concretized and rigid system of thought to which they adhere, no matter what, and without complete understanding, and it does not suit a real application of the original idea. It's a limitation. It's, how does it go? The idea, the ideal, and then the idol. So the doctrine is either the ideal or, even worse, it becomes the idol. That is the real form of idolatry, the compromising of the original revelation. But sometimes, people look at a symbol and they think that that's an idol, when in fact it's a bridge towards recognition and understanding of the revelation from which it came. So, that's a kind of an ignorant approach to the symbols which are meant to reveal and are not worshipped in and of themselves. But in the meantime, DK goes on, humanity has been helped and led forward. The intuitives continue to work, and the inflow of that which is to be revealed never ceases. Okay. I think that might be all we should deal with right now. Yes, because I think the next time we meet, it'll take us to a new section, which is called Group Intuition Dispels World Illusion. So, it's a step of work for a group which is, beyond using the technique of light, but actually we have to learn how to use both of them. So let's just say that this will be the end of Dissipation of Glamour Initiative number 34. And I don't know what page we're on, page 183. 183. And And the date is here, the 24th of February, 17. And next week, next Friday, we will move on to beginning this, number 35. And I just want to say that, we've been offering some academic work on the science of triangles. I just want to say that that will, there's still another week before the next presentation on that comes. So it's not tomorrow, Saturday, but March 4th, a week from tomorrow, that we continue the academic work on triangles. All of these studies are absolutely interrelated, and they all shed light on each other. So let's see, this is 24/4. Okay, so this will be on the 3rd of March, our next meeting, I believe, or Brett or someone, if I'm incorrect, please correct me. And then we'll go further into this very interesting question of illusion. Now, the interesting thing is that in a way, it's a more difficult technique and a more abstruse technique than is the technique of light. We all seem to be able to think and gather the powers of the personality and somehow contact the soul and make the triple light and use our ajna center and the group ajna center for the destruction and dissipation of glamour. But when it comes to the intuition, that's a real frontier for all of us. So, we have to proceed very carefully, building the antichrono carefully, remain always alert with our antenna, so to speak, out for the revelation which will come due to our careful work. Okay, friends, so now we will open the floor for your statements, your questions, discussion, and I see a hand, and Tuija, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning to everybody. I was just thinking while we were contemplating and reading about the process of descending revelation. It was just a few days ago I got to see a very interesting documentary about the memory. And when we think about the Eightfold Path, what Buddha is talking about, one part of them, or one spoke, is the right memory. And in that documentary, it was proved by scientists. There was a testing person or group that they were distorting the truth by repeating what was untrue, and after the third time the memory had started to follow the repetition untrue. And it was in that sense alarming, because we are living in the world of information, and how we are repeating them in our discussions and so forth, what actually has been happening. So in relationship to the memory, that how much we have to guard our memory and really follow what Buddha was saying, that we have to, the disciple has to have right memory. What was really the thing, what was happening, and in relationship to the revelation. This big second, as he is already here telling how it is descending into illusion and the world of glamour, and then it starts to be clothed by that, and that is in our own structure, it is our own equipments, our vehicles, those patterns, and that really guided me, or led to this thinking about how much we actually have to guard our memory, practice the right memory, in order also to have the full benefit from those tiny revelations which are possible,
Mm.
and especially this time because everything is so quickened and the hierarchy and the Christ are in their full work and capacity to try to reach the humanity and the disciples to do their work on this world of illusions and glamours.
I guess, that's why the Buddha calls it right memory. All kinds of memories are possible, but they can be distorted. The imagination can get into it. So this really complicates the issue, and it requires that we be very vigilant about what we think we remember. Right. Thank you, Tuija. I just wanted to say, additionally, I meant to say this a little earlier. Let's see if I have it here. Because Rebecca wrote something from Dr. Baker. She wanted me to look it over and present it and just make a comment on it. So, Dr. Baker has been a significant author and teacher, Dr. Douglas Baker, in the esoteric field. He has a number of valuable books, and it looks like there's a quotation made here about glamour. Glamour could be defined as any superficial factor that diverts the attention of the man, once he is on the path, from the implementing of the soul's purpose. And yes, I think we can look at that, and the factor of desire is what diverts the attention, because we begin to desire the undesirable. And just one thing to add to that particular statement, that glamour deeply affects also those who are not yet on the path. So DK discriminates between what he calls normal glamours and the glamours of the path, the glamours which particularly afflict those who are treading the path. And when we look in Glamour World Problem, right around page 120, right in there's a few pages where the different ray glamours are considered. We will notice that quite a few of those are the glamours of the path, because they particularly relate to the kind of mistakes and distortions that aspirants and disciples are subject to. So a superficial factor, you see, is anything but the truth, anything but the plan, anything but the purpose. As a matter of fact, in many ways, we live superficial lives. There was a man, was it DLR? I'm trying to remember. I remember his rays, and they were 1, 5, 5, 6, 7. And he was in the glamour group, and he was a stabilizer of the glamour group because he was an experienced disciple. But his problem was the glamour of circumstance, something like that. DK tells us that the number of glamours are legion, are many, 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 so he could accurately describe a particular kind of glamour to which anyone was subject, but, the list would be very, very long. Well, anyway, the everyday, the pettiness of everyday circumstance was consuming a lot of the psychological energy of this particular individual. And he had to rid himself of being afflicted by these, I can only call them superficial things, so that he could get to the bottom of the truth and the revelation that was attempting to occur through him. So, we cannot say that any one of us fits into exactly one type of glamour which DK has listed. If he were supervising us and writing to us, he would probably be extremely precise about the type of glamour that we were subject to. And then here's another factor. Glamours tend to fuse and blend with each other. So different types of distortions that we have get together and create an entirely new compound of glamour or illusion, an entirely new distortion, because the various distortions to which we are subject combine their maleficent power to mislead. So it's a complicated issue, and you begin to think, you have to be a bit like Hercules. When he cleaned out the Augean stables, he took a hold of two great currents of energy, and he cleaned the whole thing. And and our searchlight is a bit like that too. It might be possible to make a real attack on the root of glamour using, with an experienced group, the group searchlight. So, Rebecca, that's my response, and I certainly support Dr. Baker's work and have always been interested in it. People, disciples, they do their best and they come forward with a revelation that they think will be useful to other people. In his case, he's quite an astrologer too, and he has written these books and they're very colorful. I guess that moon in Pisces that he has helps connect him with imagery, and I think he's helped a lot of people. So since you sent that to me, I did want to answer that. Okay. Now, where am I? Okay, and let's see. Yes, the Mantle of Fire. Yes, I can show you all the Mantle of Fire. And there's a problem with Tuija's computer, and for the moment, we can't fix it. So we're trying. But we can ask her to speak more loudly if it's hard to hear her. Okay, we do that. Now, the Mantle of Fire. Of course, in the arcane school, they don't give that to you right away. They think you go burn yourself up if you use it. But I think we can possibly take a look at it because it's very important. And there's only one place where we do find it, and it is here somewhere. I seek the way. Okay, I seek the way. So one of those three is going to be it. And there it is, Mantle of Fire in the Light of the Soul. Page 200 and, what is it here? 209, in the Light of the Soul. Excuse me. I seek the way I yearn to know. Visions I see and fleeting deep impressions. Behind the portal on the other side lies that which I call home, for the circle has been well nigh trod, and the end approacheth the beginning. I seek the way, all ways my feet have trod. The way of fire calls me with fierce appeal. Naught in me seeks the way of peace, naught in me yearns for earth. Let the fire rage, the flames devour, let all the dross be burnt, and let me enter through that gate and tread the way of fire. So we might want to go to those pages in the Light of the Soul and read what Alice Bailey has said in her commentary, and use this mantram with discretion. I memorized it a long time ago, and sometimes it runs through my mind at the appropriate moment, but not to use it incorrectly, and whenever dealing with fire, to always be cautious and use the presence of the group and be aligned with the hierarchy so we don't destroy what we want to build. All right, so that's where that is. Now, going on. Other statements or questions which I may not have seen. These are 9 steps we're dealing with when working with building towards the revelation through the technique of the presence. And you know as well, don't you? The Jesuits have this thing, and of course it's generalized and passed to many groups, and maybe it came to them from some source, I suspect so. It's called the practice of the presence, or the practice of the presence of God, they call it. It's the practice that whatever God is, it's always present. The all-seeing eye is always there, and it's impossible to leave the presence of the deity in whom we live and move and have our being. I suspect, I've tried it a few times, it's a very rigorous practice. And, you find yourself thinking at every turn, will I do this? Can I do this? Is this right to be done within the presence? So basically, we have to begin to branch out not only into the world of love and of the soul, but into the world of being, where the presence is the major factor. Now, there's only one presence, really, but there are many varieties of it, you might say, each with a different depth and ring past not. In a way, Sanat Kumara, or the planetary logos, is a great presence in whom we live and move and have our being. But the solar logos is a still greater presence, and on and on and on, and it's only one presence ultimately. And that presence is the universal logos. But where did that come from? It came from the ray of the absolute, which flashed forth at the beginning of every universe. And so, when you're dealing with the presence, you are rooting yourself in the very depths of reality. So we have a lot to, there's a lot to study here, and I recommend that you go back over it, if you will. And I'll just keep my eyes open here for anybody else that has a statement or a question. You're most welcome to propose it. And if you feel daunted, you're not alone. Every time I read this material, I feel daunted by it, and I realize the depth of occultism which Master DK is revealing to us, and how much. What did he say? Concentration and hard work. What did he say when we began here? It was right over here. Yeah, concentration and long practice. How much of this is required before we really master it and eventually become, the master? This is an extraordinary approach to reality, and we have to respect it and practice those things which are suggested to us. And nothing, nothing comes cheaply. We have to buy our occult experience. What does it mean to buy your experience? Well, you have a certain amount of energy, certain amount of mental power, a certain amount of desire. You're an energy unit. We're an energy unit, and we spend ourselves in the attempted acquisition of various kinds of achievements. And, where we spend ourselves is what we get. So let us always think of the highest value when we're spending the energy, which we are, to achieve some objective. We are buying our experience in a way. So we're entering something here which is really quite expensive from that point of view. Okay, is there anything else, friends, before we get into our meditation? I don't blame you for feeling a little bit daunted in the face of this material on the technique of the presence, but I certainly do welcome any comment or any question that you may have. Not that I can necessarily answer all questions. I've learned that one. Excuse me. And so. Well, okay. Well, and during the week, please, you are quite welcome. Probably some of you are taking out your glamour book, and, maybe you're looking through it a little bit. And when things occur to you, you're quite welcome to bring them to our question and answer session following the lecture portion. And, we'll do our best with it. And if I don't know a useful answer, someone else will. So remember that, and you can, use your weekly studies. And maybe if you isolate something of interest, you can bring it. Well, just as Rebecca did, that I think is a quotation by Dr. Baker. Anyway, it relates to his work, and what did I think of that? And I offered my thought about the superficial life, which is the non-archetypal life. We're not tuned into reality because somehow we've gotten diverted and we desire things that are less than reality. We really have to begin desiring reality. And then we have to have a keen discrimination as to what is and what isn't reality. Okay? All right. So then, let's go on. And somewhere here should be this meditation. Yes, there it is. Okay.
Michael?
Yes, Brett.
There's a couple more comments in writing.
Okay. Oh, I see now. Let's see, there's one here from Catherine Pyre.
There's one from, yes, and one before from Rebecca.
Okay. Okay, I thought I had addressed Rebecca's, but if she has something new, then I will look at it. Okay, so this is a question. Okay, okay, that's right. So Rebecca has said it's from The Jewel in the Lotus, and it talks about the great scientist. I think maybe that's a book that he wrote, perhaps. He's written a number of books, but anyway, thank you, Rebecca, for the source. Now, Catherine, hi, and nice to see you here. Persecuted and criticized before the discoveries were accepted and changed. I see what it is. Jewel in the Lotus, and Catherine's talking about the great scientists. The great scientists in history with their new discoveries were persecuted and criticized before the discoveries were accepted. Right. And the thing is here, you pass through a kind of fourth initiation process on whatever ashramic line it may be. We're so used to thinking of the religious line, which DK said, okay, confining people's thought to the religious area and having people deem that area to be the only spiritual area is a real victory of the Black Lodge. So along all the 7 ashramic lines, something new can be presented. And inevitably, if you take it close to the condition of humanity and try to expand humanity's comfort zone, you will be rejected or persecuted or ignored or whatever. But you can imagine the new theories, the new discoveries, the new art, the new ideals, whatever it is, new ways of therapy, let us say, new ways of expressing the energy of love and all that. Love is a tremendously rejected energy, and it's usually rejected by the fanatical idealists. And, the new principles on which to establish a government and new order. Look how people are afraid of the so-called New World Order under the Seventh Ray. They think it's something that's going to take away all of their freedoms. So my point is this, Catherine, that along any of the 7 ashramic lines, the new will be presented by the adventuring intuitives, as it is called, and they will pay the price of presenting to humanity that which could lead humanity on its next step forward. Anyway, I'm sure that all of us eventually, or maybe we've had some such experience, will experience the the cost of presenting that which will help humanity grow. It might just be ridicule or, ignoring it, or just saying, well, confining such people to the so-called loony bin and all that. Or it might be really an active persecution and the attempt to destroy the person's reputation or to destroy the person as an entity physically. So all of that cheerfully lies ahead for us if we haven't already experienced a little bit of it. And even if we have experienced a little bit of it, we will experience more. So get ready. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Okay, Brett, anything else? Am I looking here at the list?
We have yeah, I think we're done.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Brett. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your presence. All of you are the presence, and you're present, and thank you for your presence. Your presence as an emanation and your presence as the presence. But talking is one thing and realizing is another. So let realization come to all of us. As we begin to penetrate the Buddhic plane, or rather the Atmic plane, the higher form of realization will come to us. Okay, so here we are, our meditation. And sensing each other as soul-infused personalities, and more especially as souls on the plane of soul, which we'll call the higher mind at first. Solar angel is located on a higher level still, but its extension into what we might call us is on the higher mental plane. So we'll just have a few moments of silence as we affirm ourselves as a group and the presence which pervades the group. And so we get the sense that we are a spiritual instrument. We are one thing, and we are in a productive and constructive unity to carry out a certain purpose. That purpose has to do with the trained observers, the second of the seed groups, those who seek to clarify consciousness. Now, we know the sign of the cross that is used from the forehead to the chest, to the left eye, to the right eye, as we say the protective formula, because we're dealing with ancient distortions, which are still very powerful, and one has to work in the light and not be swept away by these forces. So, the protective formula. As a soul, I work in light, and darkness cannot touch me. I take my stand within the light. I work, and from that point, I never move. We ponder these words. So we are safe together within the light. It is the light of the soul, and we work through three preparatory stages. We focus the dual light of matter and mind. We use our creative imagination to do this. We focus this on the plane of mind. We are thus vital in this process, and we can think and understand. And then we meditate on soul contact, and we recognize soul light. Then we fuse the two lesser lights, that of matter and mind, focused on the mental plane, with the descending light of the soul. We fuse these together and see the fusion in our creative imagination. The light of soul, the light of mind, and the vital light of matter. The three then are one. And we say together, the light is one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day. And finally is the light of the intuition. We'll sound the Om 3 times on a second ray note. Then we enter the formula, and as we pronounce this formula, we visualize the great searchlight that we will now turn on, that we have now created, turning its light upon the astral plane, which in its present condition is not a reality. So we visualize the group searchlight going out onto the astral plane as we pronounce the words of the formula. Radiance are we and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. We ponder for a few moments on that formula and our searchlight, our group searchlight out onto the astral plane, a subtle world, but not truly a subjective world in the soul sense. And so we know as a group that that which is above can help below, can dissipate the great distortions which have captivated the desire nature and the lower mind of humanity for millions of years. So a time of a great clearing is coming, corresponding with the entry into the fifth kingdom. The fifth ray always brings clarification, if used correctly. Then we pause, and we in whatever way we best can, invoke the will, the spiritual will. It comes partially from our soul nature and works out as the will to sacrifice, but it comes from sources beyond, from the great plane of will, the Atmic plane, and ultimately from our permanent part, the monad itself, whose first expression is the will. So together as a group, we invoke the spiritual will, and we're going to fortify our beam, our searchlight, with the presence and power of that will. Now, we pronounce the mantra which indicates that the spiritual will has been added to the beam with which we intend to dissipate glamour. We say, with power upon its beam, the light is focused on the goal. And that goal for our work at the moment is the dissipation of the glamour of egotism, which is a great mistaken identity based upon the illusion of egoism. And this is what, prevents people from identifying with and as the group, and it prevents them ultimately from identifying as the one. It holds them in that little egotistical circle where they think they actually are something separate. It's a lower Leo phase, and it has to be overcome. Okay. Now we utter the 3 words of power as we visualize the glamour of egotism being dissipated. We're penetrating into the glamour. It's becoming weaker because of our empowered beam. And the clouds of that glamour will fall apart, evaporate, disappear. And behind it all, the sun of true identity, true spiritual identity, will show itself. And so we work together now, visualizing and enunciating the words of power. The power of our united light prevents the appearance of the glamour of egotism. The power of our united light negates the quality of the glamour from affecting humanity. The power of our united light destroys the life behind the glamour. So now we will enter into 5 minutes of silence, working with intensity of purpose as we see this work proceed, preventing the appearance, negating the quality, destroying the life behind the glamour of egotism. maybe as we work with these words of power, a necessary decentralization will occur. All disciples have to learn this decentralization, that they are not the most important item in their field of consciousness, that the many other selves are important and each has its contribution, and that in fact the many selves are really the one self. So the sun of the group emerges, the sunshine of the one identity emerges. Here in the esoteric astrology book, we have mantrams connected with different stages of evolution, and we see in Gemini exactly what emerges. In the beginning and in the primitive stage, I serve myself. Later, after decentralization and the shrinking of the importance of the little personal self comes, I serve my brother. And finally, that which we all strive for, as the great sun of universal identity shines forth, I serve the one. And the time will come when that one is, as the presence, always detectable, even when dealing with our brother and dealing with ourselves. And so we withdraw our beam onto the mental plane from the astral plane, and our attention now is no longer on those false desires and distortions which mislead, but we're on the plane of mind. We turn the searchlight off, and as a group we will continue to use it, that the sun of reality may shine forth and the clouds of distortion, of glamour, may dissipate. And we will together sound the Om 3 times, beginning with the mental level, working through the astral level, and finally the etheric physical level. Okay, friends, we continue to work forward. There will be other glamours that we will turn our attention to, but we've dealt with some of the fundamental ones, and they relate to everyone. And from them, the many myriad legion of glamours grow. The glamour or the illusion of separateness is the fundamental illusion, resulting in egoism and resulting in egotism, which desires to fulfill, satisfy, augment that central factor in our field of consciousness, the little personal self. It's a great distortion, it's a great exaggeration, and we learn how to rid ourselves of these exaggerations and minimizations. Whether you're exalting your ego or whether you're putting yourself down in a way, you're still focused on the little self. So rule out the good self and the bad self. As it is said, let only Christ be seen and heard. So tomorrow morning we'll be working on the Destiny of the Nations work, invoking the soul of nations, very important work, and then we will go on Sunday to attracting money for hierarchical purposes. So I want to thank everyone for hanging in there and being present, and we have our own individual glamour work to do. Think about it. What are the distorted desires which are keeping you as an individual away from the full reality that you might experience? And then we work in the group sense in order to clarify the larger picture so that human consciousness can be bright and revelatory of reality. Thank you very much, and we will see you before long. Bye-bye for now.